Hello, amazing artists. Today's lesson is inspired by two female street artists. A street artist is someone who creates art for public viewing. It might be on a street or the side of a wall or somewhere outdoors where everyone can enjoy it. So these two street artists, one is named Kelsey Montague, and she is an international artist who paints wings on the sides of buildings so that people can get their pictures made with these wings behind them. And they're huge murals. Another street artist is one that we've had the pleasure of having at Ford Elementary, and her name is Colette Miller. So her wings are also extremely popular around the world, but they have very different styles. So I hope that you've enjoyed the presentation on Kelsey Montague and Colette Miller, and that's what's inspired this lesson today. In this lesson, you're going to learn and be able to recognize that people make different types of art in very different ways around the world. And the objective of this lesson is that you're going to recognize street art when you see it and how it means that art can be interactive and it can include everyone. When art is inclusive, it means that not just the wealthy can afford it and not just those who go into art galleries can see it. It's artwork that's on display for anyone and everyone who comes by. So today, this lesson is inspired by two of the most inspirational female artists that I have ever seen. So let's get started. Today, you're going to need your art folder. If you don't have an art folder, you can get a piece of paper. The heavier the paper, the better this will be. Because eventually you're going to be cutting out your wings, and then we're going to be adding these to a collaborative mural that we put on the wall in the hallway at our school so that all of our students can take their photos in front of it. It's inspired by Kelsey Montague's message, What Lifts You? You know, when you think about wings, you think about eagles soaring or birds soaring and wings that lift them up on the currents in the air. Well, this has been a tough year so far. And so I thought, what better time to create an art lesson that actually helps inspire us? It makes us think about maybe the things or the people that help lift us up and encourage us when we're not feeling so great or when we're having a really hard time. And so we're going to create feathers so that when we put them all together, we create these beautiful wings that show how much we encourage and inspire each other. So here we go. I'm going to get that camera set up. You go get your art materials, and let's meet back in just a second. Okay, if you will, take a look at these two feathers. They're fairly large, right? Well, they actually take up an entire piece of paper, okay? So what I'd like for you to do first is take your paper that's inside your folder. You should have the three prongs of your folder on this side, and take your paper and fold it in half long ways, like a long hot dog bun. And then open it back up. Okay, so you now should have two halves that are exactly the same. So we're going to create two feathers, one for practice and one that will be the feather that you'll complete, okay? I want you to think about the fact that no two feathers are the same. If you look at these examples, you can see how very different these are. Some of them have these little tiny little wispy feathers that come off, and then the quill goes right through the middle of the feather. It's fairly thick at the bottom, and it gets thinner as it gets to the top. You have some feathers that are thin on one side and wider on the other side. You have some feathers that are about the same. And then you have some feathers that have lots of little wispy soft edges, and then they get kind of thicker as they go up. So I want to say this because I don't want you to think that your feather is going to look exactly like the sample that I do. I'm going to demonstrate for you how to draw a basic feather, but if yours looks different, that's fine. Please don't worry. All right, here we go. I'm going to draw with a Sharpie just because it's easier for you guys to see the sample that I'm drawing. I would like for you to take a black crayon to create your feather. That way it won't bleed through to the back and get on the other pages in your art folder. So you're using crayon. I'm going to use this so that you can see it a little bit better for the demonstration. Okay? And let's see if we can get it a little bit taller so you guys can see all of it. Okay. There we go. Zoop. Okay. All right. So first let's look at the basic shape of a feather. Okay. I think I'm going to put it over here on this side so it'll be easier to practice over here. So if you look down near the bottom, you have the bottom part of the quill. I haven't drawn the part that goes right up through the middle. We can worry about that later. We're just going to get this basic section down here. And then another thing that you might notice about the feather is that the closer it is to the bottom, the larger it is, and the more it goes to the edges of the paper. Then it kind of comes back in, over a little bit, up and out. But as it goes up, it begins to come in closer and closer and closer till it gets almost where it's not very big at all on this end. So let's start out on the bottom with our crayon, and here we go. I want to look at just half of my paper right now, okay? I want to find halfway between this section. So right about right here is going to be halfway. And I want to draw a shape that looks about like this. So it's almost a rectangle, except instead of going straight down and over, I'm going to stop a little bit short, go down to a point, and then come right back up. And I'm not going to finish off this rectangle right here. So if you need to pause the video until you get this part done, that's fine. It is about 2 fingers for me. So for you guys, it's probably going to be about 3 fingers from the very bottom where you're going to stop your line. Once you've got this line done, I want you to keep in mind this center part, and we're not going to go over to the other side of the paper, okay? Now what we want to do is we want to start drawing our line, our feather line. If you want, you could take a pencil and you could kind of sketch out the basic shape of a feather. So I'm going to do that now just to show you how we want to kind of keep this feather in a line. So I'm going to go up. My feather's going to be really fat down here at the bottom and get kind of thin as it goes up. Just kind of like that. It's almost kind of like a leaf pattern. Now I'm going to follow that line up for just a short way. And then I want to come back in a little bit, just like that. I'm going to kind of go up in a straight line, go back out toward the end, follow the line up a little bit, come back in. So anytime you need to stop the video and get caught up, you can do that, pause it, and then just come back when you're ready to catch up. So if you'll notice, as I'm going up the side, these are about similar in width. I'm going to start getting a little bit shorter. And maybe do one more, and then go up here. Okay? You can kind of see how I finished that up. Now, instead of coming back down to the bottom and starting down here, I'm going to start from back up here and go back the other way, just so that you can see how to draw both directions. So I'm going to come down, and I don't want necessarily all of my spaces opened up at the same part. So I'm just going to come in and out. and in and out, in, down, and back out. I think I made this one down to here, back out, and back down to the line where I started. So I now have a feather here. Now, some of you may not have a very big feather like that. Maybe your feather looks a little bit like this. And that's fine too. So you can do it very precise, or you could do it where it's very kind of curvy. Now, stop the video and complete the outside contour line for your feather, and then come back and we'll work on the inside details. Okay, welcome back. So let's work on our details for this project. Let's look at this one first. So one of the things that we want to do is we want to break up the different feathers in different sections. So as you can see right here how I've just drawn some lines across, we want some fairly large sections. We don't want it to be really small because we're going to create patterns in each one of those sections. So if I start out with this one, I might want to come up here like this and maybe come down like this. So I'm kind of switching the direction of my lines. Maybe go over like that. And let's see. I think I'll go up right through the middle for this part to kind of create the look of that feather in there. So that gives me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spaces. 5 or 6 spaces is about really all that we need because we don't want our patterns to be so small that when we post our feathers up on the board to create the mural that we kind of lose the effect. So we really want to keep our sections fairly large, nothing maybe smaller than these two. So I'm going to do the same with this one, except what I want to do first with this one is I want to create a line that kind of flows up through here to break up my pattern a little bit. So I'm going to start at the top and I'm just going to flow down through here. And I'm going to go back like this and run it right in that. And maybe I can even add in a little bit of black in there to kind of create the look of the quill. Now, if you'll notice, I did not do it the same as I did this one. This one is a little different because I want to show you guys just how very different this project can be when 2 people create something or even when 1 person creates something. So I've now got it divided, and then I'm going to go back and I'm going to bring this in, bring this in. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe do another one up here, 6. So that gives me a few extra spaces to create some patterns. Okay, so once you have got your feathers broken into different sections, now it's time to add pattern. Okay, so we want to create something that looks a little like this. So as you can see, each section has different types of patterns in it. And that's what I want you to use, is different patterns. We have done numerous projects in art that use patterns to create landscapes, patterns that create texture sometimes. And so that's what I want you guys to focus on in this project. So I am going to put away my pencil and my Sharpie, drag out the crayons. And I think coloring is one of the most relaxing things in the world to do, especially when you're kind of stressed and you just need a little bit of a break. So here we go. So here's all these beautiful crayons that we can use. Okay, so I think the first thing I want to think about is what kind of patterns can I do? And I need to think about the fact that I want my patterns to show through any color that I put in the background. Now, I could draw these patterns with a Sharpie or black crayon, and you can absolutely do that. So let's create the patterns with the black first, and then I'll show the other one without creating patterns with the black. So if I wanted to create patterns here, maybe I could do a spiral pattern up here. Okay. Maybe this one I just want to do some lines. So remember, I want them to look very different in each section. Okay. Let's see. Maybe this one will just have some X's. And then I'm going to offset them, which means they won't be quite lined up. Don't forget that little section over there. All right, and then I think I'm going to do some wavy patterns right here. So remember, we can do patterns with repetitive lines. We can do patterns with repetitive shapes. We can even create patterns with color. We can create patterns with letters. So I know you guys, even all the way down to kindergarten, create patterns. We use a lot of patterns in math. And so this is similar to a math lesson that you might do where you're using pattern. Okay, I think for this last one, I'm just going to do some big circles. Maybe this will be kind of a leopard print when we're done. Or maybe it almost kind of looks like raindrops a little bit. Okay, so this is if I do my pattern in black, and then maybe I go back in and add color. So if I wanted to add some color here, I really want these to look like very like your personality, and just kind of represent who you are. So maybe you want to use your favorite colors, or maybe you just like vibrant colors, or maybe you want to stick with the same kind of color tones. Maybe you want to use different colors of blue or different colors of red. Maybe you would like to create a feather that has all warm colors or all cool colors. Remember, our warm colors are the oranges, reds, and yellows, and the cool colors are the blues and the greens and the purples. So you can really create some beautiful and unique flowers just by changing the colors that you choose to use, which is why I wanted you guys to be able to draw 2 of these so that later on when you're in school and we work on cutting these out, you'll have some options for which one you like the best. Okay, so this would be with the black patterns and coloring in the background so you can really see the details in these patterns. But we don't necessarily have to do it this way. We can just create our patterns with our crayons. And so one of the ways that I do that is I typically use the darker crayons for the pattern and a lighter crayon to color in the area around the pattern. So let me give you an example of that. So let's see, maybe this pattern would be squares. And I'm going to go ahead and fill those squares in to create that pattern. I'm not taking my time, I'm sorry, but I'm trying to keep the video short, but I know that you guys will do a beautiful job coloring in your patterns and taking your time so that they're very neat. Okay, and then I think I'm going to choose a, what about a green, yellow green? Let's do yellow green to color in the background around that pattern. Now I'm not going over those colors, but because the crayon is hitting them, it is picking up a little bit of the blue in the green area. It's okay. So you can see how there's a difference in using a black to create your pattern and in just using color to create the pattern and then coloring it in with another color behind it. It is absolutely up to you what you would like to do to complete your feather. Now I want to show you one that has been finished just so that you guys can kind of see how it's going to look once we cut it out. So if you take a look at this one, give it a second to come into focus. You can see I even added a little bit of the little tiny feathers down here at the bottom. You absolutely do not have to do that if you don't want to. But before you cut them out, if you wanted to do it, you would need to come back down and draw some little thin lines that you could cut along. And so you are more than welcome to do that. Some of you older students might want to create those. Some of you younger guys may not want to worry about that. So when you are done, you should have something that looks really bright and really colorful and has lots and lots of beautiful patterns and colors in it that you feel represent you. So I just kind of did this one in just a hodgepodge of colors, and I actually like the way it turned out. You could choose to do rainbow colors and start with red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet all the way to the bottom. Or you might want to choose, like I said, all warm colors or all cool colors, or maybe just one type of color. So when I talk about monochromatic, monochromatic is when you choose one color and you get all of the tints and the shades of that color. So blue, and you might get the dark blue, a lighter blue, cornflower blue. These have lots of different names. Indigo. So there's 5 colors in a crayon box that are shades of blue, and those would make it really pretty. If you want to do maybe some reds and oranges, you could pick those colors as well and come up with something like this. Okay, so that would give you a lot of different things that you could pick from as well. So lots of different colors, lots of different things that you can create and really make it your own with lots of patterns and lots of colors. So when you're done with this project, I hope that you will take care of it until we can get together again, and then we will talk about how to cut it out so that we can get it ready to go up on our wall and make our beautiful wings. And I'm excited about it. I hope you guys are too. So you guys have a great day.